everyone. My name is Kira, and welcome to Kira's Book Den, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today we're going to be going through my June reading wrap up for June 2026. I've had a very good month. No 5 stars, but some quite high rated books. There was no duds at all, so that's a win for me. Um, all sort of middle range sort of books for me this month. So I read 15 books, 3 physical books or paperbacks, 6 audios, and 6 ebooks. I completed one series, which was the Smoke series by Abby Glines, the mafia Southern Mafia romance novels that I've been listening to on Audible by her. The genres were women's fiction, contemporary romance, historical romance, paranormal romance, mafia romance, and thriller. New to me authors were Sarah Hilton, Ali Hazelwood, Charlotte McConaughey, and Erin Nicholas. Now, let's go through the books. The first one I read was The Chosen Ones by Sarah Hilton. It's a women's fiction novel published way back in 1991, I believe. Let me just double check. Yes, 1991. It's a secondhand book that I've had for quite a number of years. It's about Nancy, our main character Nancy, who the story starts with her attending grammar school with 4 other girls. I thought it was going to be all about a finishing school or something, but I was incorrect. It doesn't take up much of the story. It's more the initial setup, and then we get to follow all the women, as they like leave and go into their respective lives. Mainly Nancy's life, and then you get to sort of see the other girls through her pursuits afterwards. One of the girls she was friends with at the before she goes to the school, who's a working class girl, and her family owns like the local butcher and fruit shop and things like that. So Nancy, we see her through the graduation. So we're getting there when she's a young teenager, I think about 13. Then you go through you sort of fast track a little bit to her graduation and through her 20s, and like how she leaves her hometown and goes to London, and then she goes abroad for a job, and then she sort of full circle and comes back around. It was an easy and enjoyable read. I did enjoy reading it. I felt like sometimes the prose, it skipped over a lot of things which I felt could have been more in depth, but it's sort of still really enjoyable. And I liked seeing Nancy's journey and the way sort of the other girls came in and out of her life post the school. So it's really just about a young woman coming into adulthood, basically. That's what most of the story is about. And I rated it 3.5 stars. So it wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, just a middle of the road book, but it was just a fun read. I like reading women's fiction. Is one of my favorite genres. It was actually my favorite genre before I really properly discovered romance novels, which are now my favorite genre. But yeah, I still love a good women's fiction, and that was an acceptable women's fiction. Then I listened to Best Fake Fiance by Roxy Noir. This is the second book in the Loveless Brothers series. It's contemporary romance. The narrators were Tor Tom and Monica King again. it's fake fiance and single dad. So Daniel Lovelace is the single dad to Rusty. Um, she came about with basically via a one night stand, but the mother is very like she's into drugs and stuff like that. So she's never been had custody of her daughter because she just is a mess. Um, but now, and she even when she has her on her visits, like half the time she doesn't turn up for visits, and when she does have the daughter, she's not very caring or attentive or anything like that. So Rusty lives with Daniel, but now all of a sudden the mother wants to take full custody of Rusty, even though she's never showed any interest in it, and it's more coming from her fiance. And so like Daniel panics and in the courtroom, and and because the judge is more a conservative sort of guy, like believes that child should be with the mother no matter what, and in like a proper family situation with two parents and all this sort of thing. So Daniel panics and says that he's actually engaged to be married as well to his best friend Charlie. And so it ends up being like she has to, after some like thought about, I don't think I want to do this. She realizes she doesn't want him to lose Rusty, and she loves Rusty too, so she doesn't want to lose her either. So she decides to agree to his lie, and I love it. It was such a good book. Charlie is sweet, but she's super scatterbrained. But she's really like genuine and sweet, and she's like she's amazing with Rusty. And I just love all the interactions and stuff like that. Um, she can be a bit too free with some of her decisions, but in general, it's all well meaning, and sometimes it's just like an accident's going to happen because a kid is a kid and that things happen. um but yeah, so like obviously because it's fake fiance, they sort of, and it's romance, so like you know what's going to happen, but it's a really sweet book, and I love the family dynamics of the Loveless family as well. It's just one of those family um series. It's only the second one I've read up to so far, but it's just one of those things that you'll really start to love the family as much as the like starring couple or whatever. It's excellent. Oh, then also finished another series, um, Rakes Who Make Husbands Jealous, number 4, London's Most Wanted Rake. So it was by Bronwyn Scott. This is the historical romance. This is about Channing, who is the owner and founder of the League of Discreet Gentlemen in this series. Um, he takes on the job of one of his employees when the other guy has to go home for his sister's wedding, I believe it is, and it turns out to be Channing's ex-lover Alina. She's someone who has lived on the continent quite a lot. So she's a bit more she's a lot more worldly than a lot of like even a lot of the wealthy social class of England. And she was basically wanting Avery, the other guy, to escort her to so she can get close to one of the um, guests at this house party that's going on for multiple days, um, because she's she's trying to basically con him because he's conned her family and destroyed them basically. um, but like so there's sort of it's a bit of an enemies to lovers, but and second chance, but like So they both have misconceptions about what occurred in the past. Um, so Channing doesn't realize how violent and abusive her relation, her marriage was, and he was like, and she just doesn't really think much of him. Like she thinks that he judged her unfairly and all this sort of thing. Um, and because of the delicate sort of situation story, I like that this last installment was quite a bit longer than the previous ones. Um, I gave this 4 stars. It was a really good book. Oh shit. Did I give you the star rating of the other one? Best Fake Fiance was 4 stars as well. Sorry, I always forget the star ratings. Anyway, so yeah, both of these. This one was 4 stars as well, and I really liked how it was longer because it needed to be. I feel like if it had been shorter like the others, it really would have been rushed, and it would have been one of those short stories that was a miss for me. But I appreciate the author writing a longer book for this one. Um, I really both the characters were so well rounded as well. Like even in the previous books that were much shorter novellas, um, the characters were well rounded. But this one, I was just it was so much even better than the previous ones. So yeah, kudos to that one. That's another series I finished this month. Then I read Bound in Flames by Millie Taden. So this was for one of my challenges as well. Um, the Chosen Ones was also for a challenge. I can't. So Chosen Ones was for Made to Last. That was published a book published before the year 2000, and that was for the Read Good challenge. This one was for the Buzzword cover challenge. Um, Wings on the cover, so you can see the dragon there with his wings. So Millie Taden is known for her short and hot novellas, and this is no exception. So this is number one in the Draken Mates series. The good thing about Millie Taden too is like you can literally read any of her books, and none of them, even though there's a little bit of overlap with characters and stuff, like you can read any of them anytime in any order, and it doesn't matter. It's just they're all standalone. And so this one is about Morgan and Tor. Um, so Morgan is an empath, and she is charged by her mother, who's in like intelligence sort of thing. She has to go into the Draken clan and find mates for the brothers and things. But it turns out that she might be may fated mates with Tor. Um, she's also There's also the reason they think this is too because any of the mates that are supposed to be with these guys get targeted by a rival dragon clan called the Black Dragons, who are much more violent and aggressive and kind of on the bad side of things, whereas these are more benevolent dragons. Um, they came from another planet, and the Black Dragons came as well because that planet was dying, and so they came, and instead of sharing, like guys were willing to share with the Black Dragons weren't willing to share, so they started slaughtering them. And every time they find like a discover that there's someone supposed to be one of their mates, they have to be protected quick, smart. Otherwise, the Black Dragons assassinate them. So that's why they start to realize that Morgan is um, his mate because she starts getting targeted, and they're really drawn to each other as well. So um, he's supposed to be her bodyguard because she's supposed to be working for them and stuff like that. So like um, obviously they're going to protect something like an asset, even if it's just she's just an asset and not a mate. But yeah, Um, as per Millie Taden, like there's a little bit of plot, but it's very thin and it's like very insta lovey, insta lusty, and so you have to expect that from her. That's what she writes. It's just stupid fun. I really enjoy her books just for the fun of them. This one I got I think I got it in a Melbourne signing, so that's when I met her. So she signed it for me. So yeah, so it's just a fun 3.5 star read, and one of the ones I'll be keeping because she signed it and I met her. Then I read a couple of the My Hometown series books, the little novellas I've been reading. The first one I read was number 3, Something to Talk About by S.L. Scott. This one was about Rob, Bobby Baylor, and Fallon. Um, so Bobby is a chef extraordinaire, um, but he's having to he owns a few business his family owns a few businesses around the town, so he's sort of filling in one day for the like they own a trawler, so he's filling in for one of the fishermen who is not there at the moment, and so when they're docking and stuff, he sees Fallon and he's sort of really enamored by her, and he falls into the water, and she tries to pull him out, and she falls in, and all this shit. It's really hilarious, and the guys are like cracking up and making fun of him and stuff like that. And then so literally the whole story is like he just takes her to his place where she like freshens up and shit like that, and things happen, and literally that's the whole story, and it's so cute. It's like the banter and the forwardness between them both is fucking gold, mate. um they're so funny, and they even though it's short and it's steamy, the chemistry between them, just like as people and as like smart ass people, is really great. I loved it so much. I gave it 4 stars. And then the second one, from like it was number 4 in that series. The next one I read from it was The Chances by Elsie Silver. Um this one was about Avery, or Ivy as she goes by, and Dex. So Ivory Castle, she's a famous pop star. She breaks down near a construction site that Dex is running, and she ends up needing a place to stay. So, well, she gets a car. Well, it's supposed to get fixed, but it's basically not getting fixed because it's a total piece of shit. um, so she ends up staying at Dex's place, and because there's no all the hotels and B&Bs and everything are booked out because the annual fairs on, so she has to room at his place. And Dex is like this grumpy guy, and he's a bit of a loner because he's a former inmate, like been in jail, and so a lot of people judge him for that and sort of stay away from him because they're a little bit scared of him. um so like she's all like it's not grumpy sunshine, like she's optimistic, but is not she doesn't she's not having a good time herself because she's sick of fame and all the fakeness of being a pop star and stuff like that. So the reason why she has a dodgy car is because she's like basically taking herself off grid sort of thing, like not literally, but in like in a in a way that she won't she won't spend her money that she's earned because it's all attached to all her handlers and stuff, and if she does touch it, they know where she is and she wants to hide, sort of thing. So that's why she's here, and she's just randomly in Chub Cove. So yeah, it's another really good little one. This was 4 stars as well. I loved it. I love this whole series, man. I've still got a few to go, and I'll be talking about another one in this video once I get to it. I just love them. It's like the best little stories, and they know how to do a short story. Like how I can be a bit funny about some of them. But yeah, I've had a great time with each of them so far. The next one I listened to was Scorch, which is Smoke Number 9 by Abby Glines, the mafia romance. This one is about um, Fawn, who's a single mother to Gypsy. Gypsy is in one of the earlier books, and she ends up with um, he's the younger um, brother of younger son of Garrett, who's in this. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. It starts with T. But anyway, um, but this is about Fawn herself, and she's working as a server. Um, she's done it a few times, but now she's come to Ocala and she's working as a server in like a high end place. It's really exclusive where really wealthy people go, and Garrett is one of the wealthy people. He also owns the place. So the narrators are Lucas Webley and Meg Sylvan, by the way. Garrett really takes a liking to her, but she's really unsure about it. She doesn't want to jeopardize his job because it makes a whole lot more than like a server job normally does, and her goal is to like make the money from it, so then they can move on to the next place because that's what they do. Her and her daughter, they move along all around America basically, and she is really drawn to him as well, but she knows like not even going there. But he's like the head of the mafia, man, and she's really independent. And Garrett is like he sort of challenges her at every turn, and he's not afraid to show his feelings for her. Initially they're just physical, but he quickly starts to feel more for her. And she because she challenges him a lot too, because she starts to get him to see that he doesn't need to be controlling. Like his so-called grand gestures are actually ways that can be construed as controlling, and so she starts to get him to turn around and realize that it's okay to have an equal partnership in a relationship. So I really enjoyed this middle-aged romance. It was a really fun book. I did get annoyed occasionally when the author portrayed like a bit of ageism. That really always annoys me. Like it's not only 20-something-year-olds who are entitled to a beautiful, sexy, empowering relationship. You know what I mean? A woman is not expired by their 40s, and this girl isn't even 40. She's like 36. So it's like, oh, it's just that annoys the crap out of me. But it was such a good book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really did enjoy it. That just the one little thing really did niggle at me. Then I listened to Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. This was a thriller novel. Um, the There's a bunch of narrators on this one. Cooper Mortlock, Catherine Littrell, Saskia Marlaveld, and Steve West. So it's an Australian novel, which I didn't realize. I know it's gotten bigger over in the States and stuff, which is fantastic. I think it's wonderful when Aussie um, novelists when their books get big overseas, because we have so many great Aussie authors that are huge here, but I don't think ever hit overseas. Um, so it's about a family who, like a single father and his one, two, three children. So they've got two older children who are teenagers and who are 18 and 17, and then a much younger son who's 9. And they live on this place called Shearwater Island, which is in Antarctica, and it's off limits to um, tourists and stuff because it's a research base. But basically, they're starting to evacuate because the the island is slowly sinking into the sea, so it's becoming unsafe for people to live there. Um, so this book is a very and then this woman um, called Rowan washes up on the one of the rocks there, and she survives. Somehow she survives. And then she's very, very battered and shit, so they have to nurse her back to health. And there are all these secrets going on, like with the family and with Rowan, and it's just yes, it's really good that way. But on the other hand, so like I love the immersive description and stuff of the whole story. The storytelling is amazing. The richness of the descriptions of like their surroundings and all the like the seeds that they're looking after. So it's like it's one of those seed things where, I don't know what they're called, but they're basically those places where they keep seeds for if the world ended, they'd have things to grow, sort of thing. Um, but so all the description of that is fantastic. I loved it. Um, what I didn't like was there's a lot of antinatalism in it, also misandry and nihilism, and to the point where it's just like over the top, and it's it's I hated that part of the book. So that I rated this 3.5 stars because it could have been a fantastic book without all the freaking negativity. I understand we have to be aware. Obviously, we have to be aware of nature and environmentalism and stuff like this. But this is beyond that. And Rowan, I couldn't stand her because it all came from her. All that attitude about all those things was all in one character, and it was horrible. And she's a horrible person. I hated her. Yeah, I she ruined it. She ruined that book for me. Uh, people carry on about politics in books and stuff, and yeah, I get what they mean because this pissed me off so much, so much. And also the fact this woman was fear mongering all this crap to the 9-year-old boy. Wrong, 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 wrong. I just hated that part. That's what ruined it. It could have just stayed with the thriller part of it, and yeah. Anyway, next book was Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I listened to this on Spotify. This is my first Ali Hazelwood book. I know she's got a bunch of books. I just have never gotten around to it yet. So this one is the characters are Rue and Eli, the main characters. Um, the narrators were Callie Dalton and Jason Clark. He's my favorite. I love him. His voice is fantastic. So Eli and Rue first meet up to go on a blind date with each other, but the blind date is ruined by Rue's brother, who's very aggressive, and Eli basically saves her from him. And then he just drives her home basically, and nothing really comes of it. But then it turns out that Eli's company has bought is seeking to buy out the company who funds Rue's research. So Rue is a food scientist, and she's working on a patent. Um, and so she's really like conflicted with her feelings towards him and what his company is trying to do. Rue's a super closed off sort of woman. Um, she's not great with affection or emotions and vulnerability and like romance or anything like that. But she still finds herself attracted to Eli despite all of this. Um, and she wants to have a physical relationship with him, but she's not capable of having a romantic relationship with him. Meanwhile, he's like falling hard for her, and he like adores her. And there's a whole bunch of yearning coming from him, which is cool. But he's also really great. Like he never, even though he has all these deep feelings and stuff, he never pressures her ever, and I think it's fantastic. He's a really cool book boyfriend, but you can also sort of tell that much more than a lot of other book boyfriends that he's written by a progressive woman. It's much more obvious in this book than in a lot of other books. Um, so even though all the things are cool, what he's doing, sometimes it seemed a little bit unrealistic. So, but it was a really brilliant story. I rated it 4 stars. Um, the emotions that the narrators portray are really great. Um, and it had some really good plot twists as well, which I had appreciated. So yeah, that was a really fun book, and I look forward to reading more Ali Hazelwood. The next one I read was for a buzzword cover challenge for Border on the cover, and that was Faking with Benefits by Lily Gold. So you got flowers, but they're like a border of flowers. Um, this says a reverse harem, fake dating, friends to lovers, and friends with benefits set in London. We have Layla. Lily's the author. Layla, who's a small business sole trader. She designs and sells beautiful, sustainably sourced lingerie. That's sustainably sourced from like materials and stuff. Um, she designs them and sells them and all this stuff. But she's terrible at dating. And she always starts off okay, and then the guys like ditch her and stuff. So she doesn't understand why. So her neighbors who live in the apartment across the hall, 3 guys. Zach, who's a former rugby player, um, Josh, who's the businessman and he's the one who started the podcast in the first place, and he's like the brains behind it all. And her former English teacher from high school, um, whose name is Luke. Um, they all do the podcast together, and and so it's like a random guys who aren't qualified sort of telling talking about dating and everything to do with like relationships and stuff like that. So their podcast is starting to bomb a bit, and a new one has come on, and they're starting to like have a rival, and they're losing a few call listeners and stuff like that. So they decide to help Lily with her like shitty dating. She's pretty. They basically want to encourage teach her how to date, and they decide to do it through the podcast as a segment on the podcast. So they'll like do a date or some sort of something to do with that, and then they like talk about it on the podcast. Um, Zach and Josh are like straight up, yeah, we're into it. Zach is more into it because he's like more just into want to have sex with her. Josh is like pining for her. He's had feelings for her for ages, and he just wants to do it because finally gets to be with her without like ruining the friendship sort of thing. While Luke, because he was her teacher, even though it's like 10 years ago, she's 27 now, so like fully an adult. He's still a bit like nah about it for ages because he has feelings for her too, but he feels like it's inappropriate sort of thing. I love through all this book, like most of the book, all of the characters are emotionally unavailable, even though they're all falling for each other, but they none of them are admitting it to each other or to themselves as much. They and I just love it. I love the whole thing. The band, man, it's so funny. It's so funny. Like especially like some of the like podcast bits of that. I cracked up multiple times. It was great. Um, I love this book so much. I rated it 4.5 stars. Such a good book. This is the second book I've read of Lily's, and I can't. I think I did rate. I don't know what I read the other one. I can't remember, but this is such a fun book. Um, and the one thing that didn't quite get to 5 stars for me was in some of the sex scenes. I don't know what she was thinking, like because she set it up at one way, but then she tried to describe them doing something, and it's like physically not possible because they weren't in the right spot. So like all the logistics were wide a bit off sometimes. But other than that, this is a great fun book. If you like reverse harem and stuff, this is one of the best great ones. It's just funny. Like here's one of the transcript parts of this book when they're doing the what's it called, the podcast. Like, how do you think, Luke? How do you think the date went, Josh? Oh, she's even worse than we expected. Layla, it can't have been that bad. I still got a good night kiss. Zach, because you're pretty. I just stared at your face and tried to ignore what your mouth was saying. um, and then Layla, huh? I wonder why you didn't respond when I called you an arrogant prick. It all makes sense now. So that's all like what it's like. It's great. I love it. Then I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy, which is number one in the off campus series. This is the book that's all over the place because of the show, which I'm refusing to watch because I hate the cast. uh, I don't know about the cast for Garrett and um, Hannah, that's fine. But I just dislike that they erased the red-headed guy and the blonde chick. And like, anyway, I even though I said I was going to do like the short version of Her Kid, so far everything I've read has gone into like the extra options that I picked for Her Kid. So this one was like one of the US road trip ones that I put in for, and it's so US road trip Massachusetts. I put it as for Massachusetts state. You don't have to have like US road trip. It could be like England, Europe, Australia. I could have done Australia, but it just worked out that a lot of the things I'm reading worked out for a US road trip. So that's what's happening. Um, this one I gave 4.75 stars. This is a really great book. It starts as a tutoring arrangement, which Garrett has to hound Hannah for and basically blackmail her into. And then she's like, fine, I've got a thing for this football guy. So if you want me to tutor you, you're gonna pay me a shit ton of money. And also you're gonna like teach me or get me in proximity to um that guy. and, so yeah, he's like Erorato, basically. But then he starts to fall first. This is a cool thing. Garrett's the one who starts to fall for Hannah first, and Like at first, he doesn't even realize that he is. Think he thinks it's just lust, but it's not. He because he goes above and beyond for her and shows more affection towards her than he would like with the hookup or something. And yeah, this book is like one of those kinds of books that really draws you in immediately and immerses you in the characters' lives. Um, it's emotional and funny, and it's low angst. It's more like it's rom com, but not in a tacky way. It's a little, it's really I like how well developed like the storyline is and the characters and stuff like that. And it just it's not the type of a rom com that like tries to be funny. It's not purposefully funny. It's just more like fun. You know what I mean? And Garrett is, even though he's cocky and arrogant and up himself, he's not a bully, and he actually hates bullies. He actually goes out of his way to basically get up bullies, basically, because his own father's a bully, and so he knows what it's like to be targeted and stuff. And so the only time he's really truly an asshole is when he he's like trying to stop other people from being assholes, which is great. I'm so excited to continue with this series because I loved this book. This was my standout of the month. I loved it. This was a close second, but yeah, the deal and the chef's kiss, so good. um, then I read Ashes, which is the final book in the Smoked series by Abby Glines, number 10. This one also again I managed to fit it into her kid in the US road trip part for Georgia, because this one is about Wilder and Oakley and Wilder's daughter Sarah. So this is like I took a while. I was listening to it for a while. I'm like, how does this relate to the other books? Because there's not really. I didn't really understand. I couldn't remember Wilder at first. I hadn't couldn't remember him being mentioned, but it turns out that this is a bridging book between the first Smoke series and into Georgia Smoke, which is the second um, like series, mafia series that's available. Unfortunately, only in print or ebook, not audio. Unfortunately, um, so Wilder was mentioned a few times as like one of the guys who dated one of the other guy's girls before the other guy married her, and so Gage it was, and he so Gage hates him. He can't be around Gage because Gage will basically murder him if he's anywhere near his girl. And he was also the guy who flew the plane in Garrett's plane in the last book in Scorch. So yeah, like took me a while to figure out how this book fit into the others. And you see little snippets eventually of the other characters, but it's basically leading you into the next series. So Wilder is a single father to 6-year-old Sarah. He takes over custody of her when the mother is no more by her own hand. Have to be careful what I say on YouTube in regards to that. Apparently, so because the last court order basically pushed him out of being around the little girl and stuff unfairly. um, it means he hasn't had much to do with Sarah as much as he wanted to, and he's also not adept at being a father. Like he moves there in them, he buys this new mansion and they move in, and there's no decorations, there's no little girl things. He doesn't really listen to what she wants or what she likes. He just like assumes, oh, she loves pink, she's a girl, so pink, and she doesn't like pink, all that sort of thing. So Oakley, who is the his ex's um, stepsister, and is Sarah's aunt, starts to come and visit a lot, and she starts to basically take on the mother role of Sarah, and he hates her because they've had past things happening, but also he really hates that what she did to them, like what how she basically took stopped him from seeing Sarah. So that means he has to start putting up with her being around, even though he doesn't want to. And the other people in his life see how good of a person she actually is, um, and he just can't get past what she did in the past. It's a really proper, true enemies to lovers. I feel because it even he doesn't even come around. Doesn't even start coming around to like right towards the end of the book. He really dislikes her, and it was just it was really dramatic and emotional, and I loved that. This is narrated by Desiree Ketchum and Christian Fox, and I gave it 4.5 stars. It was a really strong book to end that series on, and I'm looking forward to going into eventually the Georgia Smoke series because now I've met all these other people in this book that I want to read their stories about. So it's super cool. Then I read number 5 in my hometown series. It's the other one I read this month of this series. Let's Try This Again by Erin Nicholas. I also used this one for her kid US road trip for North Carolina. This one's a reverse age gap and single parent, sort of. So I rated it 3.75 stars. A bit less than others, but it's still a good book. I still enjoyed it. This is about Veronica or Ronnie and Braden. So Ronnie is 41 and has a seven. She had a daughter when she was 17, and at the same time, when Braden, he's just turned 30, when he was 16, his father passed away. And so he became sort of the man of the house, and his mother was very distraught over the father's death. So he basically raised his 3 step siblings, step brothers. So he basically has been a parent as well. So even though with the age gap difference, he's sort of, and she doesn't think he's in the same space as her, where she doesn't want any more kids. She's done it. She wants to enjoy her life now. He has to sort of really reiterate to her that even though he's a lot younger than her, he's in the same place mentally as her as well, because he has already done the parenting thing too and raised these boys. Even though he's not their father, he's very much feels like their father. They don't feel like brothers to him, they feel like his sons. So it's just a little story about he's been attracted to her for a couple of years, and now that he's 30, he's like, I'm not too young for you anymore. You know, like, and she's reluctant, but it's just about him persuading her, basically. I gave this 3.75. It was a really fun little book, and I love the ending. It's so sweet, but yeah, it was great. Good book. Then I read Enzo by Kay Webster. Now this is part of her Taboo Treats series. I also use it for her kid in the secret prompt section for most recent acquisition. I read one of these books previously, but now I've sort of figured out, even though they're kind of standalone, maybe I should read them in order, because there's characters linking in here that are from other books. Like I recognize Winter from Red Hot Winter, but like I should probably read the rest in order. So this is about Enzo and Jenna and little baby Cora. So even though this is a taboo little book and it's quite very steamy, um, this one has a really beautiful story attached to it. So Jenna's 17 and she's turning 18 soon. Um, and she's been stuck in this foster system her whole life from when she was a baby. So and then when she's 15, she's in one of the houses she's in. This baby gets brought in to be another foster kid basically, um, and she bonds with the baby who they call Cora, um, and she basically becomes Cora's illegitimate mother. Like she loves this child like it's her own, and she will do anything to stay with this child and keep her as hers. And she wants to like as soon as she's 18, she wants to adopt this child as her own, so it won't get separated. And then Enzo, she ends up in obviously with foster care, she ends up in a couple of terrible homes. So Enzo ends up being a worker, but he quickly starts to do to care more than he should. Anyway, he falls. Eventually, the two of them fall in love. And like he's very smart. He's smart about it. He's not trying to do anything wrong. He just really truly loves her. And as soon as she's 18, she's like, "You don't have to wait anymore. I'm of age," and it's all her choice. He's not grooming her or anything. It's not as taboo as you make it out, just because there's like an age gap sort of thing. It's a little bit taboo, but it's not too bad. Um, and so it's just this beautiful story about them figuring out how to form a family and how to keep Cora. And yeah, it's just I love this book. It was great. As I gave it 4 stars. Beautiful story. He's very much a protector type, and she's really intelligent and has her head on her shoulders, and she's not one of the foster kids who goes off the rails or anything. She makes a couple of bad decisions more because she loves Cora so much, but not like because she's rebelling or whatever, you know. So yeah, it was a really good book. And then finally, I just finished this today actually. Was today, which is the 29th of June. So this is Love by Molly McAdams. It's Secrets in LA #2. I used it for my Hair Kid regional traipsing USA because I'm not in USA, so I can do that. I listened to it on Audible. The narrators were Lauren Sweet and Sophie Daniels. I gave it 4 stars. It's sapphic romance about Ariana and Kingsley. So Kingsley moves to LA from a small town in California into this mansion where these girls all share this mansion. Like it's almost like a room share place, but it's in a mansion, not an apartment. So like, um, Kingsley comes here because she's going to be working at the hospital that Ariana works in, as a midwife. You guys don't, Americans don't call it midwife for some reason, but that's what she is. And Ariana is meant to be her mentor, and she's like training under her and stuff. But then they start to develop feelings for each other, and Kingsley has had a boyfriend for the last like 10 years since she was like in middle school or whatever you call it over there. We'd call it primary primary school here. Anyway, so Kingsley is struggling with her sexuality, and Ariana's trying to keep everything a secret from like everyone because she wants to respect Kingsley's journey to figuring out what what she what who she's attracted to, her sexuality and stuff. And she doesn't want to like out her before she's ready, but she also keeping things secret from like her best friend and stuff because her best friend's a bit of fucking nutter. To be quite honest, she's a nasty piece. um, and yeah, like so that's basically what this is about. It's about figuring out your sexuality and all that sort of thing. It's a bit of a coming of age thing, and how it can affect you, not just you and your family and friends, but also even the person that is like in love with you and stuff like that, and that you're in love with. Um, a lot of this I was really freaking annoyed at Kingsley, like until I learned why she was so over the top dramatic about like she was like she was so insecure. And for a lot of the story, I was really annoyed by how much she carried on. It took a long time for things to reveal themselves as to why she was like that. I felt like it was a bit too long, but I felt she was gaslit by everyone in her life, mate. Every single person, like friends, boyfriend, parents, they were awful to her. So I totally get why she was so uneasy about herself and her situation, about everything in her life. It was, yeah. So I gave this 4 stars. I would have probably given it 5 stars if I wasn't so annoyed with her, even though I now understand why. I just couldn't quite get there with the 5 stars or 4.5 or anything. So it's a 4 star for me. Um, yeah, so that's all my reading for the month. I did really well this month. I read a lot more, probably because I had a few short ones, but I did read a lot more than previous months. And I hope you like, comment, subscribe, um, and tell me what you read in June. What was your standouts, and what were anything that were a bit of a dud for you? I hope you had a good month, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you and bye.